أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear friends, welcome to Idea Foundation Forum. Today we will discuss the research topic 6 major reasons of the Muslims' decadence under the second subtopic Ibadaat lost the spirit of character building. In lecture 125, we initiated our discussion on 6 major reasons of the Muslims' decadence. Of them, the first reason, sectarianism, was discussed in lecture 127 in details. Subject matter of the current topic is very important because it was the weakened character of the individuals, especially newly converted Muslims from the newly conquered lands, which happened to be the prime reason of socio-religious split and consequential decadence of the Muslims. Personalities of the earlier Muslims were well groomed, well trained by practicing Ibadaat are 5 pillars of Islam with the spirit of Ihsan and Ikhlas reflected in their devoted compliance of the verses of the Quran and instructions of the Holy Prophet. For them, pleasures of this life and life itself were meaningless if these need to be sacrificed for the cause of Allah and common good of humanity. Such standards of character and commitment can only be achieved when the love for Allah and faith in His absolute authority and inevitability of the Day of Judgment have been absorbed in the hearts of the Muslims through purposeful ibadat. Mere verbal proclamation of faith and performance of ibadat which fail to transform the performer's character in line with the Quranic verses are of no worth, as described in Ayat 177 of Surah Baqarah and Ayat 14 of Surah Al-Hujurat shown on the screen. Thus, the missing link between Ibadat and the desired character building up to the standards set by the earlier Muslims has been the common observation in the Muslim societies. This unfortunate divorce caused moral decadence of the Muslims that proved to be the preamble of their socio-political decadence, as it has been the usual pattern in the history of mankind. Now, we will discuss this situation in some detail. So, dear friends, we have already discussed various aspects of Ibadat in 5 lectures. Their references have been shown on the screen. Ibadat have a wider scope. However, these are generally referred to 5 Islamic practices or pillars of Islam that include faith, prayer, zakat, fasting, and hajj. The role of ibadat is pervasive in every aspect of a Muslim's life, which may be summarized in seven areas. 1. Strengthening the faith in oneness of Allah, His absolute authority over all the affairs of the universe and self of the man, and interconnectivity of all the elements of the universe and the man with the divine order. Number 2, building a bridge between faith and well-being of the humanity through good deeds or amilus salihat. Number 3, reforming the personal life by creating a balance in the worldly life and life of the hereafter. 4, inculcating positive feelings and attitude for the well-being of the humanity. 5, promoting unity among the Muslims and the humanity for common good. 6, preparing the human mind for establishing socio-economic equity and human rights. And 7, leading the man to higher echelons of spiritual life. If we further summarize these 7 areas, the objective of Ibadaat comes to fulfill 2 types of obligations. Obligations to Allah and obligations to humanity or fellow beings. We have also discussed a relationship between the Ibadat and 2 types of obligations in lecture 57 titled Ibadat as bridge between faith and well-being of humanity, describing that the faith, Ibadat and good deeds are a closely connected trio. Sincere and dedicated performance of Ibadat deepens the proclaimed faith into the heart and soul, which in return enlivens the Ibadat with divine charisma that motivates a man for greater submission to the will of Allah and urges him for serving the humanity. Service to the humanity is integral part of the will of Allah, as Allah, appointed the man, his vicegerent on the earth, to emulate his attributes. The Ibadat dedicated to Allah's will and his allegiance inculcate spiritual resonance in the man's personality. This process begins when love for Allah takes precedence over all other considerations. It inculcates in the man's personality a feeling to sacrifice his worldly possessions for the love of Allah and the common good of the humanity. The man starts realizing significance of the hereafter in lieu of worldly life. It comes true when the man understands this worldly life a short tenured break for test and trial, which will determine his status for permanent abode of the hereafter. This understanding urges him, compels him to seek the ways how the mankind can be best served to build the desired portfolio for the upcoming life of the hereafter. For the background of this statement, I have given some Quranic references. Those may be consulted by the interested friend at his leisure time. So, dear friends, the discussion made so far leads us to state that faith is nucleus of a believer's life. 1. While it is soul of our ibadat. 2. And inspirational and benevolent character is its product. What comes out? What is the ultimate result? That is the character. Inspirational and benevolent character. So, heart focused and selfless ibadat build spiritual relation with Allah and gilds and shines and gilds our experiences. Beauty of soul inside ourself starts radiating, starts shining into our character and our deeds. We dedicate, we sacrifice our worldly gains to accomplish the grand cause of Allah by submitting to His will and establishing justice, peace, order, progress, and welfare of the humanity. Doing so, we win the greatest jihad by conquering ourselves for the cause of Allah as declared by Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the words. Listen, very important, very beautiful hadith. The greatest jihad is to battle your own self. Listen again. The greatest jihad is to battle your own self, your own ego, to fight the evil within yourself. So, this entitles us, if we win this battle, it entitles us to proceed on the higher dimensions of faith. It builds a meaningful psychophysiological coherence of the man based on the purposeful, positive emotions and attitudes with a very strong resilience and a vibrant inner baseline to encounter negativities of this worldly material life. It makes us the Shaheen of Iqbal. It enlightens the experience to distinguish between good and evil and instills great courage to fight against the forces of evils for the common good of the mankind. It is emergence, it is appearance, it is birth, it is emergence of a faithful, benevolent character indeed. It is how the purpose of Ibadaat is realized. Purpose of Ibadaat is served. So dear friends, now imagine, just imagine a few propositions. Imagine, breach of the bridge between faith and the man's conduct. Think, when the link between the faith and deeds is lost. Think when our ibadat are devoid of faith. What is devoid of faith? Empty of faith. Our submission to the will of Allah is not soaked in the feelings of ihsan and ikhlas. Imagine, think, if our ibadat become barren in generating the will and spirit to fight the evil within ourselves, how the greatest jihad can be won as desired by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How the character of Hazrat Bilal and Khalid bin Walid can be replicated if our ibadat are not enlightening our hearts and souls with the love of Allah. Just imagine, when Hazrat Khalid bin Walid was removed from generalship of the Muslim army, from the leadership of the Muslim army, someone asked him, "You are still fighting with the same zeal and zest?" It was the question. What Khalid said? He replied, "I am fighting for Allah, not for Umar. Imagine when the Persian queen asked her generals, when the Persian armies were defeated in Al-Qadisiyah, why they could not defeat the tiny and poorly equipped Muslim army. It was questioned by the queen from the Persian generals who had been defeated. The general uttered the historic sentence, reflecting great sublimity of the character whose self-interest has been dipped into the divine cause of Allah. Imagine the character of the soldiers who were fighting from the Muslim side. General said, we cannot defeat them, means Muslims. We cannot defeat them because we fight to kill them. We fight, Persians fight to kill Muslims, but they, the Muslims, fight to be killed for shahadat, to seek the divine glory of Allah. So how they can fight with Muslim armies when they were so much groomed in the faith, in the oneness of Allah, and their characters were so much sublime. So dear friends, when our ibadat fail, now focus on my words, when our ibadat fail to ignite, to inculcate faith into our character, the charisma of ibadat to build a faithful and benevolent Muslim character desired in the Quran fades away, evaporates, fades away. Jihad of the self is lost. Khalid then fight for Umar, not for Allah. The man becomes much of matter, worldly matter, and least of spirit. The man loses his spirituality. When split of faith, ibadat and deeds perpetuates, continues, Shimr, Ibn Ziyad, Yazid are born. The killer and the killed both expect pleasure of Allah. What a strange oblivion. Egos, vested interests and greed keep them blind of logic and wisdom. Religious malevolence and bewildering confusion have dragged such Muslims into dreadful sectarian animosities. The Quran has described such sickly mentality, ailing mentality, in Ayat 32 of Surah Ar-Rum as shown on the screen. Allah has called such Muslims, Allah has called them the worst of beasts, deaf and dumb, who do not understand the truth as described in Ayat 22 of Surah Anfal as shown on the screen. So dear friends, such was the split between ibadat, faith and deeds are individuals' characters that led to moral decadence that primarily contributed to the decadence of the Muslim society, as the history witnessed after the shahadat of Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu ta'ala anhu, the third caliph. 4 extremely painful and heart smothering events caused by this moral decadence need attention of the Muslims desiring to listen. The call of Allah communicated in Ayat 103 of Surah Al Imran as shown on the screen. Which were those four events? First, imperialist empires of the Romans and Persians, two superpowers, were completely eliminated, smashed, eroded from the face of the earth with the sacrifice of 4,000 and 8,500 Muslims, respectively, in the battles of Yarmouk and Al-Qadisiyah. While the Muslims' life losses at the battles of Jamal and Siffin, fought among the Muslims themselves, were more than 10,000 and 70,000 respectively. How painful. Second, 4 caliphs were martyred by willful killing in a row within a span of 24 years from 656 to 680 AD. Third, Islamic Khilafat had been torn apart into two after the assassination of third Caliph, Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, on June 17, 656 AD. And the state of Medina was divided into 3 states in 685. Fourth, Kaaba, Khana Kaaba, the house of Allah, has never been desecrated, destroyed in the history of Islam by a non-Muslim assault, but twice by the Muslims in 683 and 692 AD. Such horrifying consequences of sectarian divide caused by moral decadence, reflected by these earlier events, are still continuing in the Muslim world today. One of the several examples is the Iran-Iraq war that caused life loss of about 2 million Muslims and material loss exceeded $1 trillion. Had this money been spent on well-being of the Muslim community, it would have earned pride of greater self-reliance, prosperity, and peace in the Islamic world. Syrian civil war is ongoing internal conflict within the Muslim society, having caused life loss of nearing 500,000, 5 lakh, since 2012, while material loss may be estimated in hundreds of billions of dollars by now. Dear friends, story doesn't end here. It's a very, very long and painful story. Other horrifying consequences of failure of our Ibadaat in developing the faithful characters on the Qur'anic standards can also be witnessed in socio-intellectual and politico-economic degradation of the Muslim world today. Islamic Republic of Pakistan, who claims to be champion of Islam, is amongst the topmost corrupt countries, ranked at 144 in the list of 180 as reported by Transparency International this year. First clean Islamic country is at 22nd position. Focus on the words. First clean Islamic country is at 22nd position, which means top 21 clean countries are non-Muslims. Isn't shameful? Whereas 8 top corrupt positions are held by the Muslim countries. Only 4 countries are below the average corruption line, who are less corrupt, while 53 are much above this average line, which means 53 are much higher in corruption. In the evaluation by Freedom in the World for 2021, only 2 Muslim countries qualify as having electoral democracies of desired standards out of 57. On the Human Rights Index 2021, reported by the Human Freedom, Pakistan stands at 145th position, and so are most of other Muslim countries. How shameful. None of Muslim countries, note, none of Muslim countries is among 20 OECD wealthy countries or permanent members of the UN Security Council. You don't exist any place of pride. Poverty, illiteracy, and social insecurity are the hallmark of most of the Muslim countries. So it is my humble appeal to every responsible Muslim, especially my young friends, to analyze this moral, socio-economic and political decadence in the Muslim society with an honest mindset, unbiased mindset, to find out reasons credible enough to convince the Muslim Ummah for opening up a thought process for taking some unanimous, dedicated remedial measures. So, dear friends, we conclude our discussion here. These programs are recorded both in Urdu and English. Their videos can be watched on ideafoundation.com.pk website or its YouTube channel and Facebook. Their written versions are also available on the Idea Foundation's website. Please note code number of this program, Idea 1BR26 or lecture number 129. All friends are requested to subscribe the Foundation's YouTube web channel for the benefit of this noble cause. Thank you friends for participation. Allah Hafiz.